In 1975, a version of Peter Benchley's novel Jaws hit the big screen and the world went Jaws crazy. My guest tonight, Jim Beller, is one of the greatest Jaws collectors and fans on planet Earth, and he is the co-creator of a book called Memories from Martha's Vineyard, chronicling the filming of Jaws. How's it going, Jim?
Thank you for having me. It's great being here. Great talking to you.
Unbelievable. Jaws. Probably one of the greatest motion pictures of all time. It scared the hell out of everybody, and to this day, almost 40 years later, people are still afraid to go in the water.
Oh, yeah, including me. I don't go in. I go up to my waist, and that's it. Like, in the ocean. I go in pools.
You have no idea what's in that Leviathan called the ocean.
Exactly.
So, Jaws, give us the 411. How did you become such a big fan?
Well, the story goes, I first heard about Jaws was waiting to get out of school in the third grade. My third grade teacher had the Time magazine on her desk, and the cover had this big great white shark coming up saying Super Shark. So I was big into horror movies back then. I loved, the Christopher Lee Dracula movies and all that. And I asked her if we're waiting for the bell to ring to get out, and I was like, what's this? And she said it's about a monster shark coming into a beach and killing people. And I was just like struck. I was like, oh my God, I got to go see this. So I ran home, asked my parents. They were going to see it that night, so my mom said, if it's okay for you to see, we'll take you next weekend. We'll go take you into Boston and see it at the Charles Theater. And so the next day, I ran to their room, woke up to see what they thought, and if it was okay, and they said, yeah, it's fine for me to see it next week. So the following weekend, my mom took me and a bunch of my friends to Boston, and it's the first time I've ever seen a long line waiting for a movie. It was like an event. It was amazing. So anyway, so after that, just started, I wanted to know everything about this movie. So I started, I got the Time magazine, and shortly after Carl Gottlieb's Jaws Law came out, and magazines, and then I went toys and all this stuff. So I started collecting Jaws stuff because it was kind of like bringing the movie home with you, because I couldn't see it. I was 9 years old when it came out, so I couldn't see it all the time. So it was like, I have friends who I talk to now, fans around the world, that said they were old enough to see it like 10 times that summer or something like that. I actually saw it 6. I bugged my parents so many times to go.
6 times? Unbelievable.
Well, it played for a year also. It did, around our area. It did. It left the Charles, but it did go to other theaters. So at that time, it was really in the movie theaters for almost a year. So I would see it. I saw it 6 times. I remember that. So anyway, so I just started with that, just started collecting, and now I have the world's largest Jaws memorabilia collection in the world.
Unbelievable. Are you in the Guinness Book of World Records?
I'm sorry? No, not yet. I'm in the works of talking to them and all that, so hopefully.
And I was a little too young when Jaws came out to actually experience Jaws-a-mania. I mean, I was 4 years old, and in fact, it was the very first movie I ever saw in the movie theater. My cousins had to sneak me in to actually see the movie, and I've been obsessed ever since. But I was not old enough to go out and collect all the merchandise. How much merchandise was actually put out when the movie came out?
Oh, so much. I mean, they had everything you could think of. They really did. The only thing they didn't have, which I to this day can't believe, was Lunchbox. They never had a Lunchbox, even for Jaws 2, which was more geared towards kids. They had a lot of more kids stuff for Jaws 2. But, oh, my God, T-shirts, posters, puzzles. God, it was everywhere. Jewelry, shorts, beach towels, sheets, blankets. It was like Star Wars. It was, before Star Wars, Jaws, and also Planet of the Apes also did it big, too.
Right.
But Jaws, oh, my God, it was great. And for me as a kid, every time I tried to go to a store to see something new, I was all excited and asked my mom to buy it. Model kits. I remember getting a few of the model kits.
The very first
shark.
item of Jaws memorabilia that I remember was that game where you had to go in and like fish out the stuff before the Jaws collapsed.
Oh yeah, everyone had that game when we were kids. That year, all kids had that game. It was a huge hit.
And the only thing I didn't like about it was trying to put the elastics on it.
Oh, I know. Snap.
But unbelievable. How many pieces are in your actual collection?
I haven't counted. I'm actually in the works of putting them all in order. If you go to my website, jawscollector.com, you can see everything. But it's kind of 2 years old. The latest update I did was over 2 years ago. So I have over 1,000 more photos of items that I've gotten in the past over 2 years. So I'm going to be doing updates the next month or so. That should be live. I'll put it on my Facebook page too. I have a Facebook page, Jaws Collector, for fellow Jaws fans to ask questions and talk about different Jaws items that are out there. And to this day, I mean, Hallmark now is doing an ornament, a Christmas ornament. There's a bobblehead coming out. Actually, it should be out by now. A new lunchbox. I never said there was a lunchbox back then, but my company's putting out a lunchbox. And
does it come with a thermos?
I don't think that comes with a thermos. There was one back in, I believe, what was it, 2000, that did come with a thermos. It was a limited edition lunchbox with a thermos in it. But yeah, that's long out. It's on eBay now for a lot of money.
Now, what's your most prized possession?
Man, everyone asks me that. I got so many items. But, I love the items that my friends send me and Jaws fans send me, or we trade. And so to me, that means a lot more than stuff that I find myself. I have, from the production, I got a couple of the original Bruce teeth, the rubber teeth.
Wow.
I got a couple of crew T-shirts, original ones from back then. I got Bill Butler's shooting script with all his notes and the changes in it. Different, stuff like that I like, from the production.
Now, your fascination with the movie, you decided to come up with a coffee table book called Jaws Memories from Martha's Vineyard. You're the co-creator of that. Give us the 411 on Jaws Memories from Martha's Vineyard.
Okay. There's a great on our book's website. There's a great video of the making of, and a short story of it is my original concept. I had an idea of thinking during Jaws Fest and right before Jaws Fest, I was on the island. And I was thinking, God, the people on this island must have so many behind-the-scenes photos that no one's ever seen before. It'd be great to find them. So Edith Blake, I've gotten in touch with, which she did, that on-location Make a Movie Jaws book, and she had a lot of great local pictures. And so she told me about other people, and they told me about other people. So I got started to meet all these people. And the concept of this book was to tell the making of the movie with photos only. Because there was so many documentaries out at that point, and books about the making of. So I figured, we've heard these stories so many times over and over again. There's no other stories to tell. But I needed probably, a forward and an epilogue to tell a story, basically, with, in between all these photos that I was going to collect and put in this book. So I was looking for a writer, and Kristen Henshaw, who is Ben Gardner's daughter, introduced me to this guy, Matt Taylor. He was just out of college and a writer and a filmmaker. And he was, a fan of the movie, not as big as myself and you, but he was a fan of the movie. And we talked on the phone, and he was interested. He was a great guy, and so I was like, "Fine, you got it." So he told me to wait a little bit because he was working on a project, and I was like, "Fine, I'm still looking for photos, so take your time, and then when you're ready, let me know." So I don't know, I'm guessing. It was a year maybe later, if that. He said to me, Jim, I've been thinking about this for a while now, and I know a lot of people on this island that were in the movie and the cast and the crew who have great stories that no one's ever heard before. And I was like, really? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, we should do another making of book with all these, just the stories from the Islanders. And I was like, that's fantastic. Let's do it. So he did. So I he's an author. I'm not a writer. So he went out and for I worked on it for 6 years. He was 4.5. He really nonstop. He did an amazing job putting this book together. Not only did he interview and write, he designed the book, which I had nothing to do with. He wouldn't even show me pictures or photos of pages of the book. Once in a while, I go on the island just to see him and get more photos from somebody else. I stop by and say hi to you, and sneak peek me a page or two, and that's it. And I finally got to see it when they, him and Carrie, our manager, they printed out the first 5 chapters. He was still working on the last chapter, the 6th chapter, but he showed me the first 5, and I just was blown away. I could not believe what he found and what he did. And I couldn't wait for Jaws fans to see this. I saw this about a year and a half before it even came out, and I was just like, I had to keep my mouth shut about all this stuff, and it was driving me crazy.
Well, I can imagine.
I couldn't wait for people to see it. There's over 1,000 photos in the book, too, and it's in chronological order. Matt found it was easy finding what day they shot what with newspaper articles and interviewing people and finding, pay stubs and all that. But when they got out at sea, they were he couldn't find any info what day they shot what. So he started talking to Carl Gottlieb, helped us out a great deal. He was really nice and generous to do this. He worked on it with Matt for a little bit. Matt was busy, like I said, working on the last chapter, so he didn't have much time. So he asked me to, get on the phone with Carl and find out. Matt sent me a list of all the days he needed, what scenes they shot and what he needed to know. So Carl was great. He's got this great book that I'm dying to see someday. It's a continuity book that I guess a few people on the set had. So he has all this information about what day they shot, what time, time of day, when it happened.
And for those listening out there, Carl Gottlieb was pretty much Spielberg's right-hand man on the production of Jaws.
Well, Well, there's a few right-hand men with him. I mean, Joe Alves was great, Bob Matty. But Carl was the screenwriter. They lived in the cabin together on the island. They lived in the same house. There's a few of them that lived together in the same
And he had a cameo as a newspaper reporter in Jaws.
Yes. Yeah, which he did a great job. But yeah, Carl's a great guy, and he was very nice to do this. So actually, that's when we that copy that they showed me that I got. They also made a copy for Spielberg, and they really wanted to get him to do the foreword, and hoping that he would do it because he never did this before for anyone that he didn't know. Usually, he writes forewords for books with friends, who have written the book. He's done that in the past, but this is the first time where, he didn't know us. He didn't know what we had. So once we sent it to him, I heard from Carrie that he was just blown away. He couldn't believe what we found. And he was just all excited. He agreed to write the foreword. He was so kind and generous to do that, which just blew us away.
You can't get any better than that than having Steven Spielberg forward your book.
Yeah, I know. It was amazing. It was just amazing that he did it. And again, Matt, he did an amazing job and writing it. Because it's basically, it's done through interviews. So when you're reading the book, Matt will start the chapter off telling you information, what's going on, and then he would step away and let the people he interviewed tell the story. So it's such an easy read. It's told all through interviews, basically. So it's like you were there. It's like you were there on the island that summer and fall, that spring, summer, and fall from Martha's Vineyard.
Yeah, how many shooting days did they actually go?
God, I forget. Well, it was from May to they left in September, late September. I know that. But they were only supposed to be there, I think, for 3 months, and God, they were there forever. It seemed like everyone just wanted to get off the island.
I can imagine they went stir crazy. It's being on that island for that long, waiting for the shark to work.
Yep. And they actually got the shark working. That's another thing we found out. They got the shark working sort of quick. But what took so long was because there were different levers that different guys, crew members, had to pull. Like one had the mouth, one had the head, one had the eyes. They all had to work in sync. And so it took a long time for them to get the motion of the shark coming up out of the water a right way without looking dumb. So that's what took a long time, actually. But, of course, the story does go, and it's true. Once the shark hit the island, got into the Atlantic Ocean, it sunk to the bottom. It did. It bubbled up, and the pneumatics were gone. And so they had to redo the whole thing. But from the crew members telling us, they actually got it, working, but not the way Spielberg wanted it to. Because it would look, they had to really, there was like, I don't know how many levers offhand, but it was like 9 or 10. They all had to work together as a team to make the shark come up out of the water look good. And we found that information out. So the book was amazing. I just, everyone, I'm so happy for it. I'm so proud of it. I'm so happy that Matt did it. I found Matt, and he did an amazing job. He's working on another project right now, which I'm excited about, so I can't wait for that to come out. Nothing to do with Jaws, totally different. And, I'm so happy for this book. I'm so happy fans are loving it. That's what's just making me happy, too.
Unbelievable. Now, if fans out there are listening to this podcast right now, where can they get Jaws, Memories from Martha's Vineyard?
Amazon.com. I mean, anywhere where books are sold. And actually, Titan Books, since this is the 40th anniversary of the making of the movie, we just have a new cover put on it that Eric Hollander did, who was the director of The Shark Is Still Working. He did an amazing cover for it. And you could see it actually on the book's Facebook page also. We got photos of it there. But Amazon and our website for the book is mvremembersjaws.com. You can see a promotional video there and some pages of the book, and people like feedback from people like Greg Nicotero and different, people who love the book who couldn't believe it. And yeah, you got to get a copy.
What about Richard Dreyfuss? Has he seen the book?
I haven't talked to him. I'm sure he has. I'm at this point, it's been out since 2011, so I'm sure he has. I just haven't. I met him actually when we were working on the book. I didn't talk to him much about that. It was in New Jersey, one of the shows, the convention shows.
Mm-hmm. I think I was actually at one of those.
Were you? Were you there with Dreyfuss?
Wasn't it in Midtown Manhattan?
No. This one was in New Jersey.
Oh, the Chiller Theater.
The Chiller, yes.
Yes, I was at that show. Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, we were at the same place at the same time. Same in the line.
Unbelievable. Now, you're like I said, you're the biggest Jaws fan on the planet. What's your all-time favorite scene in Jaws?
That's another tough one because the whole movie as a whole is great. I love the Alex Kittner attack scene, the way it's done, the suspense of it, the way Spielberg edits it, like with a sweep when people are walking by instead of a cut.
Right.
And it's just a great scene, and it's scary because it's the first scene that I know of, and I don't think this has happened since, where a little boy and a dog gets killed in the same scene. Nowadays, you would never see that in a movie.
Yeah, what happened?
So,
we never saw the death of poor Pipette.
Oh, but that's the suspense. You knew he was gone. You just saw that stick.
I think more people cared about the dog dying than they did Alex Kittner.
Yeah, but that's just a great. What is your favorite scene?
My favorite scenes in Jaws. Like I said, it was my first visual movie experience, and I remember every frame and every second of it. But to me, my favorite part about Jaws, not just the visuals, but John Williams' music.
Oh yes.
I mean, to this day, that without that music, that movie would have been half of what it was.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. It's funny. I saw Spielberg in one of these documentaries said, you don't even have to know. The theme is now so iconic. You don't even, little kids who haven't seen the movie go in the pool scaring people, their friends going dum 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 dum, and they haven't even seen the movie. So that theme has lasted this long, and it's classic now. As is the movie now.
And I think it's maybe the most spoofed movie ever.
Probably.
It's good when the filmmaker even spoofs his own work in the beginning of 1941.
Oh, yes, I love that. I saw that in the theater when I was a kid. I couldn't believe it. I knew. I was nudging my friend at the time. I remember seeing this, and nudging my friend saying, "That's the girl from Jaws." He's like, "No." And then when she runs in the one that played the theme, I was like, "Yeah, that's great."
That's how you know it's iconic.
Yeah.
Now, are you a fan of the sequels of Jaws?
Yes, I am. Yeah, I am. Jaws 2 is a great movie. You gotta remember this. Jaws was such a big, huge hit. It's so hard to do a sequel to something that big, and make it a little different and not tell the same story again, kind of thing.
Well,
I think they did a great job with Jaws 2.
Now, for Jaws 2,
the shark is seen a little bit more. I wish the shark wasn't seen as much, but people wanted it back then because in the first movie, that was what was so great about the first movie. You didn't see the shark until an hour into the movie, and that's what the suspense was all. That's how you get the suspense. But no, Jaws 2 I think is great. Jaws 3 has a special place in my heart too. There's some great scenes in that. Jaws and Revenge I'm not a big fan of. I love the beginning of Martha's Vineyard, and that's about it.
Jaws 3, I love Jaws 3 because I got to see Leah Thompson in a bikini in 3D.
And to this day, Joel says I made her career. He's the one who discovered her.
He actually did.
That was her first movie.
Now, getting back to Jaws 2 for a second, there's an alternate version of Jaws 2 that not many people out there actually know about. There was the John Hancock version.
Yes.
Do you have any 411 on that? I've only seen a few production stills.
Oh, yeah. Well, wait, you're going to be in for a treat. I don't know when it's coming out, but good friends of mine, Lou Pisano and Michael Smith, are working on a book like Jaws of Memories from Martha's Vineyard about Jaws 2. They've been working on it now for over a year. I've been talking to Mike and Lou about it off and on. It's their baby. I don't want to have much to do with it. I'm helping them with some stuff that I have in my collection. Like I have a lot of call sheets from the John Hancock version and different stuff, documents that they could use for the book. So I'm helping them out that way. This will be told more in their book because they interviewed John Hancock actually, and everyone they got everybody, including the original Mike Brody that was in the John Hancock movie.
Wow.
That was fired. Yeah, and Ricky Schroeder. Did you know this? Ricky Schroeder was Sean Brody.
I did not know that.
Yeah. He was hired as Sean Brody, and they let him go too. Best way to find out more about the John Hancock version, or see or understand his version, there's a Marvel comic book that came out in '78, the Jaws 2 comic magazine. It was a whole magazine. That is basically the Jaws 2 version, the John Hancock version of Jaws 2. Also, the novel. If you read the novel, that's basically the John Hancock version. It's much darker. Amity Islands never survived the tourist industry, I guess, after the first shark came. So, they're trying to get back on their feet, and then another shark comes in. And it's a lot darker, and then more deaths, more kids die in that version also. So once he was let go, they did their whole, they actually had Carl Gottlieb come back in and, lighten it up a little, because it was a very dark movie, for what it was. I've read the script. It's a great script, and it's interesting. It's similar but different at the same time. It's just a little darker. I mean, some of the same, the shark died the same way. I won't tell you. I won't, for those who haven't seen Jaws 2, I won't spoil the ending. But it was basically done the same way. There was a helicopter section also in the John Hancock version too.
I did notice in the production stills that I have seen, it was a darker version. Even the characters' clothing was darker.
Yes, and actually Lorraine Gary had red hair. They dyed her head reddish, and I've seen photos. Then she went back to blonde, like she was in the.
Because I'm fascinated by those alternate version of movies that you never see, like Back to the Future with Eric Stoltz.
Oh yeah, I
mean, when I found out only maybe 10 or 12 years ago about the John Hancock version of Jaws 2, I was fascinated by it.
Oh, really? I wish there was footage. From what I understand and heard rumors, there's nothing around. Universal got rid of it all. The only remaining footage of the John Hancock version in the movie is at the beginning when the shark comes up out of the fin comes up, and they go past the lighthouse, and then you see the town in the background at night.
Oh, okay, yep. I know exactly what you're talking about.
That's from John Hancock. He shot that on Martha's Vineyard.
And that was very dark.
Yep, and other than that was it.
Unbelievable. Now, hopefully, they're never going to do a remake of Jaws or something stupid.
No, there's been so many rumors over the years. It's hilarious. From what I don't know. I hope not. From what I've heard, I've seen him say this in a couple of interviews in the past. And actually, there's in one of my magazine articles that's on JawsCollector.com. I put it up there so people could see it. Spielberg does say, as long as he's alive, no one's going to do a remake of any of his movies. So
good. Well, let's keep him on life support forever then.
Yeah. And I doubt you can't do it. It wouldn't be the same.
They've tried.
They would show the shark more. It wouldn't work. Joe Alves has a great line, which I totally agree with. I don't like a lot of remakes. There are some that are well done. The Thing was very, good. There's a few other ones, but Joe Alves says they should go back. He doesn't understand how they make remakes of hits and make them flops. They should go back and turn the flops into hits.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a great line he says. I'm like, yes, I totally agree with you.
Now,
all the remakes that come out nowadays are flops. Where just put out the originals. That's another thing. Remember when we were kids? They used to re-release these movies on the big screen.
Oh, I loved it.
They should do that now. They should do it still. For generations, the new generation of kids and teenagers, to see these great movies that, instead of making a remake that's really poorly done, most of the time anyway, they should go back and just re-release it like they used to. I don't know. It would be great. And for people like us who remember seeing it on the big screen, it would be great, like seeing Jaws on the big screen again. Would be fantastic.
It would be
for like
unbelievable.
A limited run of a week or two,
Now,
that'd be great.
Here's a question. Now, George Lucas went back and altered his classic Star Wars about 8 trillion times.
Oh, yeah.
Now, they've altered Jaws a little bit on DVD releases with some of the sound effects. Now, as a purist, were you distracted by that? Because I was.
Yes. When the DVD came out, they what was it, 2000? It came out. They, for some reason, they redid the surround sound and added sound to it. Where this won an Academy Award for Best Sound. So you screwed around with this whole thing, which is a classic. But now on the Blu-ray, do you have the Blu-ray? I hope.
Of course, I do.
Okay, you can now hear. Even the DVD, the second release of the DVD, when it came out again, had both versions, the original mono soundtrack and the surround. But what they did, it's interesting. If you listen to the surround soundtrack on the Blu-ray, they went back to some of the stuff they changed, and they changed it back. But some of the other stuff that they changed is still there. But the mono is there. I always watch the mono.
Absolutely. Because when those changes came in, I was frustrated. I was ready to break the DVD in half.
Oh, the whale sound bugged the hell out of me, and the ping at the end when the tank explodes.
Right.
I was like, what? It's just ridiculous.
It was almost as bad. I mean, for me, when Luke Skywalker fell in The Empire Strikes Back, and they added a yell. I mean, you don't tamper with this stuff. Right. I mean, it worked.
Well, that's what they did with the. I'm sorry. That's what they did with the Blu-ray. They went back with the surround sound. They changed that ping back to the original explosion with the surround sound, and I believe the whale also has changed back. But there's other things like when Quint stands up after the town hall meeting, there's a scrape of his chair in the original mono, and you don't hear it in the surround sound. There's like little things like that you and I have seen this movie so many times.
Right.
You know a detail of it, kind of thing.
You could visualize it even with your eyes closed by the sounds.
Right, exactly. Well, let me ask you this. Do you remember when it was first aired on ABC back in 1979?
Vaguely.
With the additional scenes put in?
Oh, yes, like Quint playing when that kid was playing the musical instrument and all that other stuff.
Yeah. Well, back then, the VHSs did come out at that point, but they were really expensive. So what I did, and I talked to a few other friends who did this also, which was so cool to hear, we audio taped it. We put the cassette recorder,
right,
the TV screen, and just recorded it. So I would listen to this over and over and over and again. So I would know the sounds. So when that, like you said, when that DVD came out, I was like, what? This is wrong.
Are they ever going to incorporate those deleted scenes back into like an extended cut? I
don't know. I don't think they need to be honest with you. It's like Lucas. It's like, don't screw around with it. It's not broken, don't fix it.
Right.
It's great to see. I'm glad they're out there to see, but I really don't think they need to be in. It ruins the pace of the movie, too. Now, that's just my personal opinion. I know other people love that version, but to me, it's great. I think it's more, Quint has more of an entrance in that town hall scene,
right,
than the music shop scene. It's great to see that scene, but not in the movie. It just his entrance in the movie is classic. With that screeching of the chalkboard with the nails.
Now we are approaching the 40th anniversary of the release of the film next year in 2015. Have you heard any rumblings about any big events going on to commemorate the anniversary?
Nope. No, not on Martha's Vineyard. No, they're done with Jaws Fest, I believe. It just takes too much time and a lot of money to do. So from what I've heard, the last one is going to be the last one.
Really? They'll wait till the 50th.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. There are fans that go every year. I'm not going to be able to go this year, but I know in June, first weekend in June, is a number of Jaws fans going to the Vineyard. And next year, I'm definitely going. Then there's a number of us from around the world who come. I know I have friends from the UK that come in Ireland every year, and it's amazing. They take this trek. But definitely come. You've got to come.
Oh, I will definitely be there. I'm going to be down there. I can't wait to go to this thing. Like I said, I haven't been to Martha's Vineyard since the week Elvis died.
Yeah. I'll show you all the locations. I'll bring you around.
Fantastic.
You'll love it. A lot of it's not changed. So a couple of things have changed, like the Brody House and the bridge and the 4th of July scene. But other than that, and Quinn Shack is gone, but the lot is still there. Menemsha looks exactly the same. It is beautiful. I mean, Edgartown with the white picket fences looks exactly the same. The car ferry is still there. You definitely got to go. I'll show you around. Okay.
Now, if we go by the lore of Back to the Future Part 2, we have 15 sequels that have to come up before next year.
Well, let's get cracking.
Let's get cracking on that. So once again, I'm talking to my good friend, Jimmy Jaws, as he's referred to.
Oh, please.
Jim Beller. He's the co-creator of Jaws, Memories from Martha's Vineyard. You can get all the information on his website, jawscollector.com. Unbelievable. Jim, I can't wait for next year. We'll go down. We're going to see all the sites on Martha's Vineyard. And hopefully, on my bucket list is to actually touch a great white shark.
Oh, me too. Me too. That's what I want to do today before I die.
There we go.
Go into a cage and see a great white.
Unbelievable. All right, Jim. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It was so great talking. I love talking to fellow Jaws fans. That was great. Thank you so much.